Now, people are going to also be thinking, well, geez, property values have kind of slipped as the general housing sales have tightened a little bit, and people are a little bit more willing to provide a little bit less of a market-based price to get their house sold. How's that going to impact Monroe and the average taxpayer? Because don't we look at this over a little bit longer period of time than that 1 year?
My goodness, I must have been asked this almost every day since the market started to really flatline. Monroe is a wonderful place to live and raise a family, and it's always going to be a demand for the market here in Monroe. What I've seen from the statistics that I've gathered, people that turn around and sell their house in a 2 to 3 year period are subject to a lower market resale. But most people will keep their homes for more than 3 years. Those people have a secure investment. And the people that are having economic hardship, they spread themselves too thin to start with, those people or relocations might end up selling their home for less than what they previously bought it for. But in most cases, that's in a 2 to 3 year span of holding on to a property. The property analysis that I'm going to do is looking at all the sales. Even if we do indeed have a drop in the market, which I sure hope we don't end up having, and I don't end up seeing that from my perspective. I've looked at the statistics for 22 years in six towns, and for the most part, good communities like Monroe that offer good schools and a reasonable lifestyle, they seem to hold their market. They may flatline for a while, but they really do hold their market.
And that's because the last revaluation we had was in 2003. So if you take a look at the increase in houses from 2003 to 2008, you're still going to see an upward trend, even though you may see some flattening of that curve.
We saw a large increase between 2003 and 2004 and 2005.
Yes, we had
so even for that short time, right after we got all those values equalized, we ended up getting an increase.
Well, let me get Manny into the conversation here now, just a little bit. Manny, I want to follow up on some of the things I've talked with Liz about here, and give you some macro questions relative to how does the whole housing market, subprime, etc., how's that been impacting Monroe's tax collection efforts and your office?
That's a relative question. When you compare it to some of the other states, not at all. California, Florida, Ohio have seen the brunt of the subprime market. Connecticut, we're number 5 in the nation, so we're not bad off, relatively speaking. But if you're the person with a subprime market mortgage, or you're the person out of a job, it's as bad as it's going to get. The economic situation in Monroe is about the same as it is for the rest of Connecticut. People are being hit with this cost of energy. If you commute all the way from Monroe to Hartford, you're going to be paying a lot of money for gas. That's a lot of money that is no longer in your pocket. So this year alone, I've sent out double what I sent out last year in delinquent notices. And that's a significant number.
And from those delinquent notices, how's that, and all the information you're talking about, how many of those really delinquent notices have really transformed themselves into kind of foreclosure hearings? Are we above, below where we've been in the past?
Oh, we're way above. This year in Monroe, there are a little over 40 foreclosures in various stages. These are bank foreclosures. Normally, the town of Monroe itself, via the tax office, forecloses on 1 or 2 properties every other year. This year, we already have 3 in foreclosure, for the people just can't pay the taxes.
And that, I think what we've seen on that, some of those cases, which I know you've talked to me a little bit about, is it's really in over their head relative to the ability to fund their mortgage.
Right. It's they don't have these are classic subprime, or they don't have the taxes escrowed, and the interest rate on a tax is 18%. That's a very, very high interest rate. You get 2 years behind, you're on a downward slope. Once you get to 3 years behind, you almost forced to sell your house or hit the lottery.
I want to shift gears a little bit. Both of you use technology extensively in your departments. Manny, I know you've really done a great job relative to getting a lot of your information on the website. What if a Monroe taxpayer wants to know about their taxes? Do they have to come to your office, or can they?
The worst place to get the information, unless you don't have a computer, is the tax office. The best place is in the comforts of your home, the privacy of your home. Just go on to the town's website, which is www.monroect.org. Can't forget that. You want tax information, so on the top line, click on tax information. You are presented with a menu of options. If you want to know if you know anything, just click on owed. If you want to know what you paid, and this is very important during income tax time, click on paid. And up will come you'll have to put in your address or your license plate, but everything will be presented in front of you. That site is 24/7 thanks to our IT department. Although our IT department claims I work 24/7, I'm not really there that much.
And how are the hits to the website going? Are we getting good traffic there?
Amazing. I'm pleased. We're getting about 100 a day, which means that's 100 a day less phone calls coming into our office. And as I said, it's 24/7. That's a lot less traffic. That's why the selectman, no one sees traffic in the town hall for the tax collector, because everybody has the information, especially title searchers and lawyers. They can go on, they have a closing, they can go on, look at that website, and it's updated weekly. Every Saturday morning I come in, that's why you see my vehicle parked out in front of the town hall. I come in Saturday morning, update the website, so it's about as current as you're going to get.
And Manny, the taxpayers obviously want to know, well, how's that help me out?
Well, it helps them out in two ways. One, if they're not sure what they owe and they pay from their old bill, they're going to get a balance due notice, and that's the dunning process. Nothing more aggravating than sending in $400 and getting a bill from the collector for $3. So all they have to do is, if they're not sure, they know they're paying late, go online, go to our website, go to the owed screen, and see what they owe, and they will always be assured of sending in exactly what they owe, therefore eliminating the dunning notice. Also, at income tax time, nothing greater. You have to know the date paid. For Connecticut, under federal, you just have to know the amount. Mm-hmm. Connecticut requires you to put the date paid. Well, that's on our website, the date you paid it. And it's not the day we received it, it's the effective date that you mailed it. So you always, if you paid on December 30, if you mailed it on December 31st, it will show the effective date of December 31st.
As you know, we're right in the middle of the budget season. I think the technology's also helped us from an expense perspective in town. Maybe you could just talk a little bit to that. From an expense perspective in the town, in terms of operating costs for the town, in terms of operating the town government.
Through technology, and I'm a proponent of this, I was able to eliminate 1/3 my staff. Now that sounds big, it's only one person, but the person through attrition got married, and because of the technology's advances in our office, we have everything online. It's a paperless office. We were able to save 1/3 of the staff. We didn't have to hire them.
And talk to me, you talked a little bit about dunning notices. How does a person avoid a dunning notice? What are the proper timeline for paying taxes?
Okay, the timeline is always the same. The bills get generated in the assessor's office. We mail them out in the end of June. They're due and payable in July and then January. So if you pay in July, and then you can also pay your January's installment in December, that's for income tax purposes. But if you pay in July and January, you'd never know the tax office is there, except that you're sending money to it.